What's going on? It's the 82nd edition of the MMA Podcast, March 19th, 2014. As always, a bunch of talk about UFC 171 this past weekend. Johnny Hendricks becoming the new UFC undisputed welterweight champion, defeating Robbie Lawler via unanimous decision. We also had Tyron Woodley, Miles Jury, Hector Lombard, and Ovince St. Preux taking home impressive wins. We'll talk about all those fights. We're going to talk about the week of MMA. Dwayne Bang leaving Alpha Male. GSP talking shit about the UFC. Vanderlei is not signing. Diego Sanchez, Bad Beef Tartar. And of course this Saturday, Shogun vs. Henderson 2, a rematch of one of the greatest fights ever. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast!
That's right, Lenny Hart. You beautiful woman. It is the MMA Podcast, the 82nd MMA Podcast. And it is myself and two of the original co-hosts of the MMA Podcast. We're bringing it back old school. It's me, Ramses, and Chris. Ramses, you know from the Word on the Street podcast. That's every Tuesday. Last night we talked to Jamie Huey. The episode's already up on iTunes if you want to check it out. Talked about a bunch of stuff. Their relationship with Team One, their digs in Brazil, what Brazil was like. It was the first time we'd spoken with Jamie in a couple months since he'd gone down to Sao Paulo to film Tough Brazil 3. You can follow him on Twitter at The Aunt Jimmy Show, even though that might change soon. Ramses, what the hell's going on?
Not much, Jake from the MMA Podcast. Thanks for having me on. I just got back from church, just having a good time here on the podcast with you. This every day is a blessing, is what today's lesson was about. And I'm coming back to you guys with his word, the good word, the word on the street.
The word on the damn street. And of course, Chris Lowe from episode 1. He is the original co-host. Me and Chris did it way back in June 2012. Chris, what the hell is going on? How are you, man?
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. It feels great to be back. As Ramses was saying here. Ramses, he was saying the good word of our Lord, and I couldn't agree more. All things are possible through Christ. Hallowed be thy name.
Praise his name.
Hallelujah. And we actually have a late edition, but I'm really glad he just sent me a message on Skype. He's patrolling the mean streets of Baton Rouge. You can follow him on Twitter at Westland Eagle AH. Alan is on the call. What the hell's going on, buddy? It's been a while since we chatted.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
You're coming through perfectly.
Hey.
Yeah, I've been really busy lately. It's been a rough stretch these last 2 months. Just working, training, staying busy.
Getting married.
No, I've actually been off most of the time, man. I hadn't worked I've been working extra duty, but I hadn't worked like regular shifts in the last couple of weeks. I've been off. Going to UFC events.
And that actually transitions perfectly into the first thing we're going to talk about tonight. UFC 171 in Dallas, Texas. Pardon me. But first, we've got to say, if you are listening live, we'd love you to jump in on the call as well. You can call us at 213-457-3380, Skype us at the MMA Podcast, or tweet us at the MMA Podcast. Of course, we do it every Wednesday night, midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific on Ustream. And check out The Word on the Street, like I said before, Tuesday nights, and MMA Mental. Actually, you've probably heard his interview with Tyron Woodley. It was posted all over the news on Fox Sports, Yahoo, MMA Fighting. His interview with Tyron, where Tyron had a few choice words for Joe Rogan about him talking about, him being muscle bound and not having that much cardio. But we will go to that same card that Woodley just fought on, UFC 171. Let's get straight to it. It was awesome. First and foremost, before we even talk about the fights, Alan, as long as you gotta take, don't break down each fight, because we will get to that. But what was your experience like? When did you get to Dallas? Did you see the weigh-ins? Actually, I think I remember you posted pictures that you had awesome seats. Where were your seats for the event? Tell us everything, man.
Yeah, so I got into Dallas on Thursday. I decided not to go, earlier in the week because I didn't have, my Rat Pack, all the Team Dark Side guys with me. I didn't have, all the support and people to make it, a really fun week. So it kind of sucked going by myself. So I didn't go to Thursday. I got in about 1:00 Thursday, and the first person that I see whenever I check into the fighter hotel is obviously Burt Watson. And Burt Watson runs up to me. He's like talking to me, and he proceeds to tell me where the UFC office is, where they're doing like all the paperwork and the, like the weigh-ins and stuff like that. I guess he has me confused with like a member of Chael's team, because he's used to seeing me hanging out with Chael's coaches in the lobby all the time at the last 3 events I went to. So it was really cool, to see him. The very first thing that happened whenever I got there, they actually had a lot of stuff planned for all the fans. So I didn't really stick around the hotel too much. There was only one fighter that I truly honestly like went there to see. I mean, I wanted to be a part of that card because it was so just an excellent.
You with us, Alan? I think Alan dropped out of there. We'll try that. Oh wait, hey, you dropped out. Go back like 15 seconds to you were really excited to see the card because.
Yeah, I was really excited to see the card because Kelvin was on it. That was the main reason why I went. So I didn't hang out at the fighter hotel too much. They had a lot of events planned. They had like Uriah Hall was doing like a meet and greet, so I went and saw Uriah. Took some pictures with him, talked to him for a minute. I got to go and do like the little Chris Weidman thing where we went and met him after the weigh-ins and stuff. But the one gripe I had is that the weigh-ins were at a bar where there was no seating, so it was standing room only. So not only did we have to stand like 3 hours outside before to get in, we also had to stand for like the 3 hours that we were inside. So it was a pain in the ass, but I had the front row right behind the media. And so, I was able to, it's crazy being inside that, tight, compact, building with all those people in there, and everybody was so vocal, and just the atmosphere, it's a big fight atmosphere for a title fight. There's so much anticipation for it that, it just that atmosphere is just great to be a part of. And, I ran across fighters, got to meet people, got to see Kelvin, talk to him at the hotel, just, happened to run into him. And then, come fight day, you just, walking into the arena, like you knew that it was going to be a good night. Like I just had a good feeling. I knew it wasn't going to be any, crazy stuff going on, any shenanigans, bad stoppages, nothing like that. I mean, we did have a couple of questionable, judging decisions, but overall, like the experience, just being a part of the number one, attendance record for a United States UFC event, and it being in the South, close to where I live, it was great to be a part of that. And, I had a really great time.
Yeah, it was a awesome card. The only pay-per-view card we got in March. I'm actually looking up the attendance records now. Yeah, it was the most attended USA card and number 6 overall. There was obviously the huge Toronto card that more than doubled number 2. And then 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all Montreal. But Dallas, Texas, UFC 171. Let's talk about the fights themselves. We'll start off with the Fight Pass prelims. It started off with an upset, actually, at featherweight. Rob Whiteford defeating Daniel Pineda via unanimous decision. A middleweight fight, Sean Strickland defeating the Tough 17 alum Team Jones, Bubba McDaniel.
And your best friend.
And my best friend via first-round submission. We'll actually probably have Bubba on soon to talk about the fight. At flyweight, up-and-comer Justin Scoggins looking excellent against Will Campazano, winning 30-27 across the board. And Francisco Trevino defeating Rene Forch, who was the only fighter on the card who was unable to make weight. He won 29-28 across the board. I guess to make things simple, we'll just stick with the same order, so I don't have to pop in and out between everyone talking. We'll just do Ramses, Chris, and Alan, because that's the order it comes up on my Skype. Ramses, what do you think about these Fight Pass cards? Did you see it? And also, where can we find Fight Pass? You're always telling the people to go to UFC.tv and order that shit.
Well, you can find the Fight Pass and sign up for your free trial. I think it's still a 7-day trial that you at least get for free. I don't know, whatever. Either way, it's worth the $10 a month. All right, easily. We got 2 events out of it. How many fights total is that? I don't even fucking know. That alone's worth it. Of course, you're seeing Tough Brazil on the Fight Pass. I love it. UFC.tv. Check it out, people, as soon as possible. Support the fighters. All right, 100% of the profits go to the fighters. Praise his name. The fights, I don't remember them really, but I know I watched them, and I had a good feeling. About the rest of the night based on the Fight Pass prelims, and I wish I wasn't doing a disservice by not being able to remember anybody's name on the damn thing. But good shit. Fight Pass, check it out.
Yeah, this Fight Pass card was pretty solid, man. I think Pineda, he's always exciting. I don't know necessarily if he's one of the best out there, obviously, but he always brings a show, and Whiteford definitely beat him. And Strickland, man, he definitely got Bubba McDaniel for sure. And Scoggins, I think, was the standout of this Fight Pass preliminary. He looked awesome, man. I mean, that kid has some insane stand-up. His scrambling game and his transitions are really great. I think he has a really awesome future in the UFC. Campazano, a.k.a. weigh-in boner, didn't look that great. And I think Trevino versus Forte was absolutely garbage. So all in all, it was okay. I'd say we had, 2 not-so-great ones, 2 solid ones.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Try this one. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the order of the fights, but the Scroggins fight really stood out to me, especially being there live. Just how much faster he was than Campazano. Campazano wasn't able to ever get in a groove and land shots. Like you could see he was trying to set up his punches or whatever combination he was going to throw. And Scroggins, his movement, he would throw a strike and just completely, just take Campazano out of his game. And, then he started wrestling him, and, Campazano just didn't have an answer for the wrestling. Scroggins changed an American Top Team, and we saw that, Saturday night, that American Top Team is definitely one of the elite places for wrestling in the UFC. I mean, every single fighter, even, Robbie Lawler, granted, the injury to Hendricks, but all the guys from American Top Team, they all, put on great performances as far as counter wrestling and wrestling. So I think that's the real strong point. The Bubba McDaniel fight and Strickland fight also kind of I expected Bubba McDaniel to go in there and just out-muscle this kid, because Strickland, whenever I met him in person and then, saw him standing next to Bubba, they're about the same size, their body structure, but their muscularity and just you can tell he's a younger guy. He doesn't have all the definition that Bubba has. He didn't look as big and strong as Bubba. So I didn't know how he was going to match up, skill wise and all that. I didn't know anything about him. And the way he just manhandled Bubba and was, so calm and composed in his UFC debut. I mean, this kid blends in really well. You can't tell that he's a UFC fighter. When you see him and meet him in person, he's real humble, real quiet, and I was very impressed by his performance. Also, the Pineda and Whiteford, I kind of chalked Daniel Pineda up to being Diego Nunes was. He was hit or miss. He's always a late starter. He likes to stand and trade, but he's kind of Diego Nunes and Diego Sanchez. He just he's one of those guys that just goes out there and puts on a show, but can't quite win at the top level, like Chris said. And then the Hene Forge and Trevino fight, I actually thought Forge won the fight, but Trevino did land some really good shots standing up. His background is Muay Thai, and like he did like this Muay Thai prayer, like where his master blesses him and everything before he goes into the octagon, and they had to keep telling him to hurry up. And that was a terrible fight. But Trevino just looked really slow. Actually, I think at 155 pounds in the UFC, I think he's not going to be able to match speed with a lot of the guys. He looks like he used to be a really big guy, thick guy, and he lost a lot of weight. And I don't think he has the speed to compete with the striking with these guys in the UFC at 155.
Yeah, you were talking about Daniel Pineda at featherweight. He started off pretty slick, won his first 2 fights in the UFC in the first round against Pat Schilling and Mackin Simmerizer, a couple of submissions. Since then, though, he's lost 4 of his last 5. I'm not sure if he's going to get another fight in the UFC. Let's move on to the prelims that were on Fox Sports 2 this time around, because college basketball, we had 1 finish and 3 decisions, even though all 4 fights did end up going to the 3rd round. The finish was Dennis Bermudez defeating Jimmy Hedges via TKO. Dennis, I think, now has 6 wins in a row. He should get a top featherweight opponent next. The other fights, 2 welterweight fights, Alex Garcia defeating Sean Spencer, Kelvin Gastelum defeating Rick Story by split decision, both of those, and another split decision, Jessica Andrade defeating Raquel Pennington. Even though they all were split decisions, I think the correct fighter won in all 3. Kelvin Gastelum looking very good. A lot of people were thinking, because at the weigh-in he wasn't really looking well, that Story might have an edge. Story has beaten some of the best. In my eyes, he's the only person who has a legitimate win against Johnny Hendricks, who obviously has two losses, one to Story, one a controversial decision loss to George St-Pierre. Gastelum stepped in there. We talked to Jamie Huey about it last night on the Word on the Street. Jamie, saying he really used the jab well to keep off Story. And Gastelum now ranked 13th in the welterweight division, should get an even better opponent next. A lot of people were thinking, even though Kelvin was a favorite, that Story might be too brisk a step up in competition, but Gastelum handled it excellently. Moving on, and like I said, he's gonna probably fight another ranked welterweight next, and if he wins that, he's what, 2 or 3 fights away from a title shot. Go Kelvin Gastelum. Ramses, what do you think of these Fox Sports 2 cards or fights?
You said it, man. The Kelvin Gastelum fight was the most exciting fight I've seen in a while. I was nervous. I was nervous for that fight, man. It's no secret. Kelvin Gastelum, he's definitely a friend of mine, I would have to say, man. In some ways, I'm the man behind the curtain. I do take full credit for his success. Love him to death. When he got knocked down by Rick Story, my heart skipped a beat, man. It jumped up a little bit, but that it was all God's plan, and Kelvin was able to recover very, very nicely. He needed this. He needed to test his trial by fire. His chin held up, his will held up. He stuck to the game plan, kept it smart the whole way through. The jabbing was awesome. It was out of this world. Unbelievable how fast he was. And, I have it on good authority that he nearly died the day before because of the whole weigh-in situation. Kelvin Gastelum was by far the best fight on this entire card for me. Yes, I am a little biased. Shout out Kelvin. Praise his name.
Praise his name indeed. Praise his name indeed. I really, really enjoyed the Alex Garcia-Sean Spencer match. I don't know if you guys watched that one all the way through, but it was a barn burner, and fucking Rogan was losing his goddamn mind the entire fight. It always, fires me up to hear that shit. And Dennis Bermudez looked insanely good against an overmatched Jimmy Hetz, however the fuck you say that. Hades. He beat the fuck out of that guy. He beat the fuck out of him. Great matchup. I'm kind of perplexed, actually, that Bermudez is flying under the radar with such a solid win streak. I think the only fight in this entire series of 6 that he's had, the only one that really you could argue he didn't win was his fight with Max Holloway. Max Holloway, a lot of people thought had won, but he's looked extremely dominant and had his moments in all of the other fights. He is built like a shit brick house, and hits hard, has insane throws, and tosses people around. He's one of my favorite featherweights right now. Jessica Andrade versus Raquel Pennington. Did not watch it because, as you guys know, I hate women with a passion. I can't stand them. And Kelvin Gastelum had a good fight, man. I thought in that first round he looked world class. It really proved to me that going up against a guy like Rick Story and pushing Rick Story back the way he did. I mean, look at all the guys that Rick Story has pushed around the octagon. Thiago Alves, Johnny Hendricks, and Kelvin Gastelum looked very smooth, very comfortable on his feet. He looked in incredible shape. Obviously, he's doing everything right, and like Rams has said, he's a friend of all of our podcasts here, and a really good guy. So I honestly think that he is top 10 material, and his next fight should be within the range of the top 10.
Yeah, I really Kelvin. He passed one of the tests that every up and coming fighter has to pass, and there's like several different tests. You got to fight a guy that's a great wrestler. You got to fight a guy that's well rounded, and then you got to fight that guy that hits hard and is just like, a Diego Sanchez type. I'm coming forward and gonna brawl with you. And Kelvin beat that guy because Rick Story is probably either the number 1 or number 2 hardest hitter in the welterweight division. He has heavy hands, and for Kelvin to, survive whenever he got knocked down, I'd call it what you want. He got saved by the bell or whatever, but he had recovered. He passed that test. So, I think they're going to throw something different at him this time. They're going to throw a different type of fighter at him. And, once he passed each one of those tests, we'll see his progression in his game. And, by fighting each one of those type of fighters, eventually he'll be ready to step in for that belt. The rest of the fights, Bermudez, he looks excellent every time he goes out there. The guy's world-class cardio. He brings it. His wrestling is crazy. He's striking. He's always in there. You can't say anything bad about him. And Jimmy Hettis is a great grappler and really underrated. He had only lost one other fight to Marcus Brimage before that. He had a long injury layoff, which is probably messed up some of his game. But, he was, when the UFC, the last video game came out back in 2012, like Hettis was being touted as, one of the top 5 featherweights. Him and Eric Koch, like they were some of the top guys in the division. So, it just shows you how everything's changed. The Sean Spencer and Garcia fight was a barn burner. I gave it to Garcia. I don't see how Spencer thinks that he won that fight. He got dominated on the ground. He wasn't pushing the pace as much as he should have in the first 2 rounds. And then the Pennington Andrade fight, I had picked Andrade because I think she's just too tough. She's really a 125er, but she goes out there with these bigger girls, and she goes out there and muscles them around and pushes them around the cage. And I see her only getting bigger and better from this point on.
Yeah, the prelims, we've had a lot of cards lately this year where there were a bunch of boring decisions, fights a lot of people weren't into. Yeah, the Fox Sports 2 card did have 3 out of 4 fights go to a decision, but all of them were impressive fights, and the main card was just as impressive. Let's move on to the main card. The first fight, Ovin St-Pierre defeating Nikita Krylov. Krylov moving down to light heavyweight, making his his debut there was 1-1 at heavyweight, lost to Soa Palele at UFC 164 in what, in my opinion, was the worst fight of all time, but actually came back and defeated Walt Harris early, 25 seconds in, back in January, dropped down, took this fight on short notice against Ovince St. Preux, replacing Thiago Silva, who obviously was recently arrested. Prue, you look at his record, it's impressive as shit. He's now, I think, 12-1 his last 13 fights. His lone loss coming to Gegard Mousasi in Strikeforce back in December 2011. He doesn't have that many impressive wins yet, but I think with this quick first round Von Flue choke, it was a really great move. Krylov threw a kick, OSP caught it, scored a takedown, hopped right into side control, and really sort of slickly cinched on a Von Flue choke, left Krylov sleeping on the mat. I'm looking at his record on Fight Matrix now. He was supposed to fight Thiago Silva, who's 15th, OSP now 28th. I mean, I really think the UFC throws him a decent opponent next, maybe a Ryan Bader, I don't know, but OSP looking excellent at UFC 171. What'd you guys think of it, Ramses?
Yeah, OSP, pretty impressive. I'm happy for the man, but I just want to set the record straight on this Von Flue choke. It was actually used in the movie Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. Yes, starring Steven Seagal. He uses it because the entire movie takes place on a train, and so he's in the cart in between the seat. There isn't much room for him to fight and do his slap fighting technique, so he uses bizarre chokes. One of them is this Von Flue choke that OSP used. That's where that came from. Steven Seagal, he actually did this one. You don't believe me? Rent the videotape. OSP though, man, I haven't seen anything from him that's worth bumping him up into contender spots or anything yet. The guy who was fighting Krylov, I mean, what the hell was that, man? This guy looked like a white belt. This was ridiculous. It's embarrassing that you threaten with a choke on somebody, you threaten a submission on somebody, and they use your own stupid arms to choke you out. That's embarrassing. And that's the word on the street.
Word on the street. Yeah, OSP is a guy who got out-wrestled by Gegard Mousasi. And me and Jake are huge Gegard Mousasi marks. We both totally appreciate the guy, even though a lot of people don't know who he is. He is actually a fantastic fighter, but he's not known for his wrestling. And OSP got completely dominated and shut down by Gegard. Ever since then, I've never really had too much faith in the guy. It's good to see him pick up a win, but he did face a guy that's primarily a striker and completely fucked him up. I think the best stanza was when he did a high kick to a double leg, man. You don't see that very often. You don't see guys set up a double leg takedown with a high kick. So that was impressive. I think the only reason why he's going to get a big push by the UFC is because most of the 205-pound division are geriatrics. I mean, let's get real. Daniel Cormier, he's not young. You got who else you got in there? You got a lot of guys in there right now that are at the tail end of their career. Rashad Evans is getting up there in age.
Shogun,
John Jones,
Henderson, Lil
right.
Nog,
Yes,
Sonnen,
yes.
Belfort.
There you go. Sorry, man. I was trying to blank. So the UFC obviously needs up-and-comers, guys that look good, guys that put on good performances, and that can sell tickets. And OSP is definitely a guy that could fill that role. For anyone saying that he deserves a top 10 opponent off of that performance, you're out of your goddamn mind. Yeah, you look good, but there's nothing in that performance or what he did that tells me that he should have any kind of top 10 fight.
Yeah, this is the third time that I've seen OSP finish somebody in under 3 rounds. First, he finished off John Villante via eye pokes. he had beat the shit out of Volante for 2 rounds, and then I think Volante got poked in the eye or something at 159, and so he finished that. And then in Boston, Jesus Christ, he knocked Cody Donovan went for a takedown. He went to take OSP down, and halfway through the takedown, OSP reverses the takedown into a fucking top position, and then while he's in full guard, he fucking knocks Cody Donovan out from full guard. I mean, he's looked impressive since he's moved to the UFC. Let's just be honest. I mean, yeah, the guys he beat weren't like top names, but I mean, still, you go 3-0 with 3 dominant finishes like that. You need to see what's up. You need to see, where he stands in the division. So I think that's why they throw him a bigger opponent next time. Because they need to see, can this guy be a star? Can we put some stuff behind him and push him? He's looked good to me. I picked him to win this fight. I got to meet Krylov, and he was really cool. And I watched his last 2 fights, but there was just no way he was going to beat the more athletic guy. I mean, especially being as young and green as he is. But I think they give him somebody in the top 15 on his next fight just to see where he's at.
And you gotta love OSP's record. He hasn't even been fighting and training for 6 years now, but he already has 20 fights on his record. The 6'3" southpaw. He played football actually for the Tennessee Volunteers at linebacker and defensive end from 01 to 04. Alan and I both lived in SEC towns, and no, if you're playing football in the SEC, you're athletic as fuck. You mix in some skill there, and he is a scary, scary guy. Like I said, 12-1 his last 15 fights, and I'm going to be very interested to see what happens when he goes up against a top 15, top 20 talent. Let's move down the board. Hector Lombard going into this fight 2-2, 1-0 at welterweight since moving down. Shields 2 straight wins, split decision wins against Tyron Woodley and Damian Maia. I was saying that Jake Shields, I didn't think he would win, but I thought people weren't giving him enough of a shot. And apparently the people were dead on. Hector Lombard dominated the shit out of Jake Shields from pillar to post. Not only did he expectedly outstrike Shields, look faster, hit more powerfully, but every time Shields went for a takedown, Lombard either stuffed it or reversed it into a takedown of his own. A lot of clinch work, a couple really, really excellent throws. Showing off that skill in judo. Lombard vaulting himself from 12th to 6th in the welterweight division. He's got to be at most 2 wins away from a title shot. You've got Rory and Tyron, obviously. I don't know where Nick Diaz plays into the welterweight title picture, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a shitload. But Lombard looking really, really good versus a really great neutralizer in Jake Shields. What do you think about Lombard Shields, Ramses?
The destruction of Jake Shields was beautiful for me to watch, man. I've never been really a big fan of Jake Shields. I don't think he belongs there is the problem. And I think we all saw it within the first minute of this goddamn Lombard fight. Lombard, I believe, knocked him down twice within the first minute or something. He was throwing him around like a cat toys with the mouse before they kill it. It was embarrassing. Jake Shields was humiliated for the 3 full rounds, and that's another thing. Lombard, man, what the hell, man? Finish this guy already. But yeah, Jake Shields, man, he didn't do himself any favors showing up with a body that looked like he was just gonna drink a couple beers and play a little volleyball on the beach. It was ridiculous. Jake Shields, man, I think this is it for him. I think now we can say he's on the decline. I mean, come on, this guy's a gatekeeper. But a lot of people can't even tell the difference between him and Rich Franklin. Praise his name. Word on the street.
I don't get the comparison, but Yeah, Jake Shields, never been a huge fan. I think I liked him back in the Strikeforce days. He was still getting subs, subbed out Lawler, subbed out Paul Daly in Elite XC. Me, Jake, and Alan are huge fans of technique. We can appreciate it. Jake Shields, like Rogan says so many times, if you see a guy dominate the way that he does in certain fights, you have to respect it. It's not a crowd-pleasing way of fighting, and it's not something that fans want to see, but you can respect it. That being said, I got to agree with Ramses. It was fantastic seeing him get beat down. I am so tired of that guy squeaking by and beating guys barely and doing zero damage and not trying to submit anyone. He's just controlling people. He never goes for a submission. He throws little tiny punches. He is, without a doubt, in my opinion, one of the least pleasing welterweights. That being said, Lombard, man, I just don't see how that guy can contend with Lawler or Hendricks. Beyond that first round, I mean, he was literally landing huge shots and throws and then just sitting there on the ground and waiting. He didn't have any killer instinct on the ground, and I know it's because he's had gas issues in the past. So it's going to be really interesting to see him fight someone like maybe a Rory McDonald or a Jang-Yeon Kim that's going to be able to pressure him more and have more tools in their arsenal than Jake Shields did. I honestly don't see Lombard ever sniffing out a title shot. I think his next fight, he's going to get a really stiff test, and he's going to probably get his ass whooped.
It's kind of hard to pick where I think Lombard belongs after what he did to Jake Shields, because he definitely in the second and third rounds he didn't look tired. He just looked like he was, playing it safe. Basically, he was basically doing. He knew that he had dominated the first two rounds, and he was just taking it easy, which is not a very fan friendly thing to do. I think at any point in that fight, he could have ended that fight. The way that he's attacked, like whenever, didn't he knock out Marquardt?
Yeah, he destroyed him at UFC 166 in Houston.
The way he attacked Marquardt, I mean, he could have done that at any point in the fight. I think he just wanted to make sure that Jake didn't catch him on the ground or anything. But I think that if Jake would have got Hector on the ground, that Hector could have fucking picked Jake Shields up with one arm and tossed him out of the fucking octagon. I'm not real big on Hector Lombard, but after watching Johnny Hendricks stand and trade with Robbie Lawler, I mean, I know he couldn't use his wrestling. I don't think that Johnny Hendricks could take down Hector Lombard. There's no way in God's green earth. Johnny Hendricks doesn't have the athleticism. As long as Hector Lombard had the gas, and from watching that fight, in a 3-round fight, I think he does have the gas. I could see him fighting fighting Johnny Hendricks. What I think that they're gonna do is they're gonna still have another little welterweight tournament, because Johnny Hendricks is gonna be out towards the end of the year, and possibly have the top 4 guys go at it again. Maybe I would put Lombard and Woodley against each other, just to test that and see what kind of gas Lombard has. But yeah, Jake looked awful. Jake doesn't have any striking, so you knew that he wasn't going to win the fight. You didn't expect him to look that bad. I mean, his striking is so stiff, and it's never evolved. Chael Sonnen evolved. Chael was not always the best on the feet. But, he stood in there with guys like Bisping and Okami and, traded. And, you have to be able to do everything in the UFC. And, especially with the evolution of all these new fighters coming in that are not just, MMA fighters. They're athletic guys. They come from different backgrounds, and they're more well-rounded. So you not only have to be a great athlete, you have to be skilled in every single different area. You can't be a one-off type guy. So yeah, I was shocked at how bad it was.
Yeah, you touched on what Rogan was saying. Rogan was very critical of Lombard's third round, and with Johnny being out, talking about a 4-man tournament. The only reason I don't think we'd see Tyron versus Lombard is because they're teammates over at American Top Team. I think two really, really interesting matchups would be Tyron versus Rory and Lombard versus Nick Diaz. I would love the shit out of both of those fights. Let's move on to a lightweight fight, though. Miles Jury against Diego Sanchez, taking the unanimous decision, just like Hector Lombard. Jury looked phenomenal. I mean, Diego, rushed in like he does all the time, but just looked extra careless. Jury had 3 or 4 moments where Diego would rush in and Jury would just clobber him with a right. Diego's, eye was so fucked up. We're talking about Shields being 35, sort of being on the way out. I don't know how much gas Diego has left in the tank of his career. Jury, though, still doesn't have a loss on his record. He's definitely going to get a top opponent next. Looking at the lightweight ranks now, Jury moving up into that 13 spot, just like Gastelum did at welterweight. You've got Michael Johnson at 12. That would be a rematch. Jury beat Johnson a couple years ago. Barboza at 11, Miller at 9, Maynard at 10. I don't know. The UFC likes to match people who have won their last fight against other people who've won their last fight. So I don't know how much that'll play into matchmaking for Jury's next fight. But Jury, landed one takedown every round, just pillar to post dominated Diego. One of the judges gave a round to Diego, which I really don't see how they scored that. But Jury looking impressive as shit. What'd you think, Ramses?
I want to be a Diego Sanchez fan, being as how he is one of the first 2 fighters I ever saw live in a UFC fight, the other one being Gilbert Melendez. I wanted to be a Diego fan, but, I got to keep it grounded in reality here. It seems that he is not. Nothing really. He had, I don't know, man, his skill level, it's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't think it's going down, but it's sure as hell ain't going up either. This fight was cool, though. It's a little known secret in the business that Diego Sanchez is one of the best bladers in the UFC. Blades himself every fight. He does it for the fans. He unleashes that blood. This time the cut was a little too deep. He's crazy, man. He's losing his mind. But it's always an exciting fight watching him. But he was beaten like a newborn puppy. That's the word on the street.
Word on the street, beating up little baby dogs. Fuck yeah.
Praise his name.
Praise his name. Allah. Yeah, man, I don't think I'm going to say much that Ramses and Allen aren't going to say. So the only thing I can really bring up about this fight is how much I fucking hate Miles Jury. I legitimately don't hate too many people. I hate that guy. He looks like a douchebag. He's got a really bad haircut. His demeanor is terrible. He just seems like a cocky guy. He literally sat there, or stood there talking to Joe Rogan saying, listen, I don't want to sound cocky, but I'm basically the best thing that's ever happened to MMA. My movement is unparalleled. I can move forward and back and left and right. My technique is at such a high level. Tonight was easy. I whooped his ass. I'm not cocky at all, but I'm pretty much better than Fedor. Fuck that guy.
I had the pleasure of hanging out with some of Miles Jury's family and friends in the hotel, just like shooting the shit. We were down there with Jeremy Stevens, just talking and stuff like before and after the fight. And some of his friends are really big douchebags because they started a crowd fight with some Diego Sanchez fans, and I happened to get it on video. It's really funny. But I've been watching Miles since not his first stint, but his second stint on Tough Live, and I was always a fan. Never thought he was going to be the next best thing, but he definitely looks really good, and he's he beat the guy that was the next step up to a title shot for Gilbert Melendez. So I definitely think he's going to get a top 10 guy next. I mean, shit. Let's see him fight Nate Diaz if Nate Diaz doesn't want to fight anybody else because he's too scared. 209. What, bitches?
209 what? 209 what? Let's move on. Tyron Woodley defeating Carlos Condit. Condit getting kind of a nasty knee injury 2 minutes into the second round. Woodley, though, was cruising towards a victory in 7 minutes of fighting. Landed 3 takedowns. Rocked Condit a couple of times. Just looked really, really good. And now, is saying he earns a title shot. Let's go around the board before we listen to what Woodley had to say after the fight. But what did you think of the co-main, Ramses?
The destruction of Carlos Conduit, man, that was very unfortunate for Conduit, but I think he's also got same damn illness that Jake Shields has. I think they're both on the decline. I think this is it, man. You're only going to see Conduit come back worse and worse every time after this. I'm sorry. That was a major injury there. Me having my own knee problems, watching that happen, I was disgusted. I did puke. Seeing that knee slide around there like jelly almost was holding it together, man. I guarantee you that injury was pre-existing, all right? That's of course he blew it out then, but that must have been fucked up for a long time. That thing was just waiting for an excuse to blow off, and but like I said, this is all God's plan. Hopefully, Carlos Conduit does a heal up fast, but and maybe out of this, maybe he'll get a personality. Word on the street.
God, dude, that is so on point. I've always loved Carlos in the cage. Outside of the cage, he's like a fucking wet paper bag. Yeah, love fighting, training. Yeah, the fight sucked. I hated it. Carlos Condit is one of my favorite fighters. I think he has one of the most diverse tool sets inside MMA. It really sucks seeing that happen, and that's not even the worst part. The worst part is I have a bet with Yao the Truth, and he went for Woodley. I went for Condit. If it ended by a stoppage, the loser had to do an internet video. So if I do it, if I lost, which I did, I have to do it in blackface to Yao's favorite song. I have to sing it and record it and put it online. And if he would have lost, he would have had to put on whiteface and sing my favorite song. So now I have to record a video.
In blackface?
In blackface.
Yes.
That's hardcore, man.
Damn.
It's like good luck getting a job.
Alan, you were there. What was the crowd's reaction to Condit's injury, and what did you think of the fight?
The fight kind of went exactly how I expected it to go. If you know anything about Tyron Woodley, before his loss to Nate Marquardt, all he used to do was wrestle guys. He would just wrestle them, take them to the ground, smother them. He fought Johnny Hendricks in wrestling back for like the Big 12 championship or Big 10. I think it's Big 12. And the only way he lost was via he got like docked some points because Johnny Hendricks said that Tyron bit his finger or something, but Johnny had like put his fingers in his mouth, and he lost by those points. So he's a stud wrestler, and we all know Carlos Condit like doesn't know what takedown defense is apparently because he's never stopped a takedown. And he's a great fighter. I love this fight with Nick Diaz. I loved watching Carlos Condit kick the shit out of Nick Diaz, fuck him up. But he's not going to beat a strong wrestler that has good stand-up as well. And it went exactly how I expected. The injury, ending the fight like that, it was really abrupt and, kind of robbed us of the other 7 minutes of the fight. But everybody in the crowd, was cringing whenever they showed the replay and the knee, switching, and you could see the pop, the tear through his skin. It was pretty disgusting. But it played out the way that I thought it was. There was no surprises there.
Let's listen to Joe Rogan in the cage with Tyron Woodley after the fight. Here we go.
I'm here with the winner, Tyron Woodley. Tyron, first of all, congratulations on an excellent fight while it lasted. You landed that big, hard leg kick, and you saw his leg give out. What was going through your mind right there?
You know, he's a really tough guy. So, you know, I landed some really hard right hands early in the fight. He winced a little bit, but he came forward. He was just trying to break his rhythm. And I heard him say, ow, when I took him down. So I said, I'm going to start chopping left or right. One of those things I heard. So.
Now, he is former interim champion, former WEC champion, one of the most experienced guys you've ever fought. What's next for you?
We know what's next. World title. I didn't ask for this fight for anything. The persistence. I'm going to use my bonus money from the TKO, and I'll buy Dana White to make sure PCS since I blew his phone up so much. This is what it's all about. I stepped up to the plate when nobody would. I fought the toughest guy in the weight class, in my opinion, and I went out there and I finished him. It's time for Tyron, the chosen one, Woodley, and it's time for my season to reign.
Does it diminish it in any way that you finished him because his knee gave out?
No, that didn't diminish it at all because his knee gave out because I took him down. So it's a part of the process.
And that was Woodley after the fight. A very exciting co-main event, but not as good as the fight of the night. And if you did want to know the bonuses, OSP and Dennis Bermudez win the performance of the night bonuses. The fight of the night, Johnny Hendricks against Robbie Lawler. In an insane war. The first round, the two sort of felt one another out, traded shots. In my eyes, Johnny had a slight edge, but it wasn't enough to give him a 10-9. I actually scored the first round 10-10. Most people, though, scored it 10-9 for Johnny. The second round, Johnny, really started to mix up his strikes, leg kicks, punches to the body, jabs, hooks, looking excellent. Lawler still didn't really look with it. In the third round, though, Lawler figured Johnny out. Almost a 10-8, definitely the most decisive round of the fight. I think most people gave it a 10-9, though. All three judges did. Most people I was following on Twitter did close to a 10-8, but Johnny didn't get too fucked up. Fourth round, Robbie kept pouring it on. I gave that one 10-9 Robbie as well, even though Johnny scored a late takedown. The fifth round, on most people's scorecards, it was 2-2. Johnny, hit a second or third wind, gets Lawler up against the cage. Lawler landed a shot or two, but Johnny was always answering back, scored a late takedown to win the round. On my scorecard, it was 48-48. But on most people's scorecards, it was 48-47, and that was the score across the board. Johnny Hendricks winning the inaugural welterweight championship. I want to hold off talking about the welterweight title picture. Let's talk about that after we listen to Johnny's post-fight comments. But just talk about the fight. God, is this the fight of the year so far? I mean, we have this and actually a fight that took place the night before in Pat Curran and Daniel Strauss, which we will talk about later on in the show. Two excellent fights. It was a great weekend for mixed martial arts, and this is definitely one of the best fights so far, 2014. What'd you think? What's the word on the street?
I got to be real here, man. I think Robbie Lawler probably scored a little bit more points, was a little bit more dominant than Johnny Hendricks, but I mean, I'll just say this, people. I got to come clean here, man. And I'm sorry, Alan, that I wasn't there with you, but I can't set foot in Dallas right now, man. The heat is on. The Texas Athletic Commission, man, they're all over me. They're waiting for me to slip up. They don't want me showing up to these events here in Texas, dude, because I would have exposed them for what they are. Either way, Hendricks was going to win this fight unless he was unconscious. The fix was in as far as the judges were concerned. There was some Southern home cooking going on. All right. Bottom line, Hendricks was going to win unless Robbie knocked him out. So, Robbie, you failed to do so, man, and that's on you. You're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. But, again, it was a damn good fight, though. I won't take that away from him. But, yeah, I can't. Like, you look at Hendricks today, this picture he posted of himself, man. This guy's got, he's got raccoon eyes. I'm pretty sure his jaw got broken. His bicep is shredded. And he broke his back or something. I mean, he might not even ever walk again. But like I've been trying to explain, the Lord, he just works in mysterious ways. I believe that Johnny will come back. But Robbie Lawler, man, in the words of Bobby De Niro in the movie Copland, you blew it, man. You blew it. You blew it. Word on the street.
Yeah, he definitely blew it. I got to give rounds 1 and 2 to Johnny, 3 and 4 to Lawler, and I think the fight, like we all saw and Jake talked about, we saw it. Lawler basically gassed. Hendricks hit him with some hard shots, got him down. That won the fight. It was an insane fight. And I'm actually really happy that for a welterweight title fight, we had a fight like that, man. How long has it been where we've watched GSP just, dismantle people methodically in a very, kind of a boring way, a lot of times. He's looked good in a couple of the fights. His fight with Thiago Alves and John Fitch were awesome. His fight with Hendricks was a good fight, but he shouldn't have won that. So to see two guys like them come in there and put on a show in a title fight at 170, it's really refreshing. I was yelling at my fucking computer just watching it. Great fight. And I feel like we're all very blessed. In the last 6 months, we've had Jones Gustafson, Melendez Sanchez, Hunt Bigfoot Silva. This fight, we're seeing a really awesome trend of fights kind of becoming these wars like this, man. Just back and forth, wars of attrition. It's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree that we've been spoiled as fans. I mean, we've seen some of, the most exciting fights that have ever taken place inside the octagon take place. I feel like we're living back in the dream glory days. And it's a shame that more people aren't watching the sport right now because, they're really missing out. I feel like, in a couple of years from now, whenever the UFC, starts to get new followers and, some of the younger kids start watching and paying more attention, they're going to go back and watch, 2013, 2014 and see some of these, great fights. And, I think there's still a whole lot more, with all this new talent and all these divisions. I think that, there's more good stuff on the horizon. But I thought it was an excellent fight. It was great to see in person, man. Nobody was sitting the entire fight. We were just standing. I didn't really have a vested interest. I didn't pull for Johnny or George necessarily back at 167. I mean, as an American, it kind of pissed me off with all the Canadians, so I started cheering for Johnny. But this fight, I was pulling for Robbie just because I have a friend that's training at my head MMA coach is training at American Top Team doing his camp with Dustin Poirier. So, I figured, I've seen some of Robbie's fights and I'll pull for him just because that's my people. And, I gave it to Johnny. I think he won the fight. The first round, it was close, but I think Johnny won. I just think he had a higher output than Robbie, and then he secured that last round with the takedown and the ground and pound. Man, he was lighting Robbie up, and Robbie looked up, and he made a concerted effort to stand back up because he knew that if he didn't get up and start firing back, that he was going to lose the fight, but. I think he was just too tired and just, wasn't able to get back up. And, that was the fight. It was great. I don't think either guy lost anything because it was such a close fight. I don't think it hurts Robbie Lawler's stock whatsoever. I mean, he'd never been 5 rounds before like that. I mean, he was even getting tired in the Rory fight. And I think that he did a whole lot better in this fight than he did in that fight. So, hats off to both guys. And if Johnny Hendricks, he had those injuries, if he really had both those injuries before the fight, then big props to him.
Warden, let's check in with Johnny Hendricks, who met with Rogan in the cage after getting the belt.
After 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges score the contest, 48-47. For the winner by unanimous decision and new undisputed UFC welterweight champion of the world, Johnny Big Rig Hendricks!
Johnny Hendricks is the champion!
Johnny Hendricks, UFC welterweight champion. How does it feel, my friend?
Oh my God, dude, Robbie's tough. All right. God dang. I feel very blessed. I knew the first two were mine. Second, third, he sort of caught me. I don't know why I was thinking. Fifth round, I knew I had to win it, and I did. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you to my team right here.
How does this feel to win this in your hometown of Dallas, Texas?
Oh man, it means everything, guys. Thank you. Thank you to you guys. Right here. Right there. See my wife? Where's my wife? There she is. Hi. This is because of her, my three little girls, all Team Takedown, all family friends, my coaches, gosh dang. Most importantly, thank God. Thank you guys too for having UFC. Right?
Thank you for an amazing fight. Johnny, it seemed like you had won the first two. He had won the third and the fourth.
Yeah.
It really boiled down to that fifth round, and you dug deep. What was going through your mind when that fifth round started?
I hope my right arm starts working. You know, Robbie's a tough dude. I'm not going to take nothing away from him. Are you kidding me? This guy's a stud. I promise you I'll be facing him again. And when we do, hopefully I can put on a better performance.
This was a fantastic performance. There are no better performances than this, my friend. Congratulations. You are the UFC welterweight champion of the world. Johnny Hendricks, ladies and gentlemen.
God bless you guys.
You know, before we talk about the welterweight title picture, one thing I did pick up on, a lot of those, like, you know, bursts of applause seemed very well timed. Alan, did it seem like they could have been pumping applause out of the speakers in the American Airlines arena?
No, it definitely not. It all sounds totally organic and natural. You know, the crowd was on fire for that entire fight, man. It was crazy. You couldn't even hear yourself talk, or I kept trying to say shit to the people next to me because we were talking, and we couldn't even hear each other because it was so loud, man. It was nuts. The crowd was really into the fights. So I think that it was all natural, and everybody kind of stayed at the end. Like, normally after a UFC is over, like, a lot of people will leave, like they'll start running for the exits. But that didn't happen. Like, whenever the fight was over with, like, everybody waited around after the decision to listen to both of the fighters talk and Joe Rogan. So it was pretty cool.
Word, yeah. I no, Johnny definitely was the hometown favorite, but I had to go full Ramses for a second.
I just hope
there.
the truth is even more horrifying than we could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, Cyber Ramses,
Robo Ramses.
But yo, let's talk about the welterweight title picture. Johnny Hendricks has a torn bicep. He's gonna be out. I think he's gonna get surgery soon. Be out and in rehab for 8 weeks. Wants to get back into training in 2 months, which puts him back in the cage either fall or winter. It definitely, though, it makes sense for more fights to be planned. I sort of touched on, I would love to see Lombard Diaz and Rory Tyron, whoever has the most impressive victory gets the title shot. Ramses, what do we do with the welterweight division now that Johnny's got the belt and he's going to be out for a few months?
Yeah, Johnny is going to be out, man. That's for damn sure. This guy was blasted apart. He's left in critical state here. I don't even know if he's. It wouldn't surprise me if he retired. This guy, man, he was beaten very badly, man. It looked like Luke at the end of The Empire Strikes Back. He was in bad shape, man. So in the meantime, it puts off the inevitable, in my opinion. I touched on this earlier, but I'll go full out here with my prediction. They're all just going to keep it warm. They're going to keep that belt warm until Kelvin Gastelum comes to get it. That's what's going to happen here in about a year.
Damn.
You heard it here first. But yeah, Rory, have fun playing around with Tyrone, and who else is up there? I don't even know. You're going to see the return of guys like Mike Pearson, Kelvin Gastelum, the Tanks people. They're going to be around for a long damn time. And, this is all just a miracle. Praise
Word
his name.
on the street.
Life is a miracle. Yeah, man. Johnny Hendricks, good for him. Welterweight title. Rory McDonald does not deserve it. I'm sorry. After his performance against Damian Maia, he looked pretty good. But let's not forget that Lawler solved the McDonald riddle, beat him, knocked him down in that third round. Johnny Hendricks just beat Robbie Lawler. So who in their right mind thinks that Rory McDonald deserves that title shot after a split decision or UD against Damian Maia? I'm not sure exactly which, but I don't think he deserves it. Dong Young Kim's coming up. We got a lot of guys. We got Matt Brown sitting on the sidelines. It's actually honestly kind of wide open right now. Like there's a lot of people injured or not having good performances. I'd have to say you'd have to put Kim, Lombard, Woodley. Those are probably the three right now that make sense. And I'm thinking they're going to do Woodley because you're going to have the power punching wrestler versus the power punching wrestler whenever Hendricks gets back.
Yeah, I don't know how they wait that long though with Woodley. I think he takes another fight in between now and then. I think if I liked what a lot of people were saying, if Diaz comes back, then Diaz can fight Robbie Lawler and have Rory McDonald fight either Tyron Woodley or Hector Lombard. And then, Matt Brown's fighting. Matt Brown really shouldn't be fighting Eric Silva. He should be fighting either McDonald, Woodley, or Lombard. It's a shame that they're making him. I mean, he's ranked number 7, and he's
That's
fighting
an excellent point. That's an amazing point.
I mean, let's say he comes out and destroys Eric Silva. I mean, what the fuck does that do for him? Nothing. So I definitely think they got it messed up with that. But you got Jake Ellenberger at 5 and Tarek Safadine at 9 who are about to fight. So, Jake Ellenberger, let's say he wins that fight. You can always throw him in there with one of those other guys in the top 5. Dong Young Kim, I really don't want to see Kim fight Lombard. I'd like to see Kim get his rematch with Damian Maia. I know Maia's coming off of a loss, but Maia at number 8, Kim at number 10. I like that matchup, and I think Kim deserves a chance to avenge that loss because it was an injury. He hurt his abdominals whenever he fell down. I think Kim destroys Damian Maia any other day of the week. And, if he beat Damian Maia, by the time, that fight takes place and then you match up all the other guys in the, top 5, top 6, it pretty much gives you a number 1, 2, 3, 4 guy, and you can just go from there. But I think Woodley, I want to give him the title shot, but Lombard has beat the 2 guys who beat Woodley. I know Lombard has 2 losses at middleweight, but that's at middleweight. It's completely, it doesn't matter. It might as well have not happened. And I know Woodley's fight against Shields was a really close fight. Some people, whatever. I mean, Lombard beat 2 guys that one of them, knocked Woodley out. I mean, he beat Nate Marquardt, which, whether or not Nate was on drugs whenever he fought Woodley or not, he still knocked Woodley out. And, Hector Lombard easily dispensed of both of the guys who beat Tyron Woodley. So I don't know. I think because Lombard makes more money and because they have so much more invested in him, I have a feeling that Hector Lombard possibly, if he sits out, would get the next title shot. But I really think all the guys who fought Saturday night, they're all going to fight again before anybody gets a title shot. I think we started to sort out the division, but we didn't come to a conclusion. Let's put it that way.
Word, and I actually was talking on Skype with Ross, and you heard the views from me, Ramses, Chris, Allen. These are the Jews' views. He says we see Diaz Lawler July 5th at UFC 175. Rory versus Tyron, UFC 174 in Vancouver, and Lombard versus Kim in August in Macau. Those are the Jews' views. Let's get to the post-fight presser. As always, starting off with Dana White giving us the facts and figures from the event.
Hello, everybody. The attendance tonight was 19,324 people. The gate was 2.6 million. The fight of the night, Hendricks versus Lawler. First performance bonus goes to St-Pierre, and the other one goes to Bermudez. Everybody won $50,000. Congratulations.
Next, we checked in with Johnny Hendricks, who spoke about winning the belt, fighting a very, very game guy, and Robbie Lawler, who put him through the damn meat grinder.
Yeah, I looked at him. I said, it's 2-2. I got to win this round. I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be one of those naive fighters that goes, it's 4-0. You know what I mean? I'm true to myself. And I knew I had to go out there and win that 5th round. You know, my coaches, they told me what I needed to hear at that moment. And took it to heart. And, man, I was just like, leave everything out there, you know. 5 minutes can change the world.
We spoke with Robbie Lawler next, who spoke about his war against Johnny.
Just disappointed. So close. I mean, it was a hell of a fight, and it's been a long road, a long journey, and I just didn't see it going down this way.
Then we checked in with Miles Jury, who spoke about his fight against Diego Sanchez and the relevance of a win against a guy like Diego.
I performed really good tonight. You know, I did what I trained to do, and yeah, I feel like I like crossed a little hump there. Diego's a household name. You know, anybody that knows MMA knows Diego. So yeah, I was happy for it, and what's next is up to my management and UFC. So.
And finally, we checked in with Tyron Woodley, who's making a case for a title shot down the road.
I saw that he was hurt, and I went for the finish. You know, I think I was dominating the fight, and you know, that's a tough guy to dominate in general. So I went out there. I asked for this fight, because I didn't think I was going to lose it. You know, you guys fail to realize that I'm in this to be a world champion, and I went out to the top guy when everybody was so quiet, and I blew this man's phone up until he probably couldn't take it anymore, because I want to be the world champion. I think that alone, that persistence, warrants me a world title shot. You know, me and Johnny Hendricks got some old finished business from the Big 12 days of wrestling. I would love to get my hands on them, and I think it's a crazy fight.
And that'll do it for UFC 171,
Can
unless anyone has any more comments. Yeah.
I do. Sorry to hop in. I wanted to get your guys' take on Tyron Woodley making that Metro PCS joke. I'm going to buy Dana White a Metro PCS because I blew his phone up so much. Do you guys think, do you think that was off the cuff, like him coming up with that right there in the cage? Or do you think that he was planning that, you know, trying to get some laughs? Because he had dead air, man. He got some dead air on that.
He's a really bright guy. If you talk to him, I mean, you listen to his interviews. His interview on the MMA Hour was really excellent. He actually blasted a lot of people for you know, calling him out and, you know, disrespecting him. But he's really, really, really well spoken guy, and he's intelligent. So, you know, I think he's just trying to take the Chael Sonnen route and make himself, you know, more marketable, because that's what he was talking about. That, you know, he can be more marketable than Nick Diaz. You know, with his fighting style, he just had, you know, he has more respect for you know, the fight game and the way that he treats other people. But, you know, I think it was, you know, probably on the cuff of the moment, but I liked it. I thought it was funny.
I think it was a deliberate ad. You, Ramses?
This was definitely 100% confirmed scripted. The UFC is entirely a scripted television production, and it's a damn good one. Every punch is scripted beforehand, planned ahead of time. Every punch, kick, submission attempt, lock, hold. And
you're fired, Ramses.
When I mean that it's scripted, I mean this is all the work of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ above.
Oh no!
Praise his name. Hallelujah. 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 let's get to the damn news. Hell yeah, it is the news. And we're going to start off with George St-Pierre making some comments about the UFC, comments about PEDs, and I'll just go ahead and read them off now. Quote, I have personal issues, and also the drug testing has something to do with it. This is the truth. I said it first, and I cannot use the kind of language I'd like to use in the way I told them and Dana and Lorenzo, because I didn't use the right language, very nice language, when I said that to them. I made references to very bad things, and I can't tell you the way I said it because I never want to accuse one individual. They weren't surprised. I don't believe they were surprised. I told them and they were like, oh, you think so? And I was like, yeah, I know for a fact. George saying he apparently knew of a fighter, probably a opponent being on PEDs. Most people would probably assume he's talking about Johnny Hendricks, as George was pretty outspoken about PEDs in the lead up to that fight. He went on to say, the system is not in place. There are no guidelines. The way they test now, it's not good. It's not good the way they test. If you get caught on steroids right now, it's because you're very disorganized. It's so easy to beat the test. It's ridiculous. It's not a real test. There needs to be random testing by an independent organization that has no interest in the money for the fight. That's how it should be done. That's how it is in any other sport. Ramses, what do you make of all this shit?
The whole thing's ridiculous, man. What is he's trying to rewrite history now that he's retired and now that he's not getting tested. Give me a break, man. Seeing is believing. That dude was juiced, all right? He was juiced. He was opening up he's going to be Rich Franklin's competition here in a couple months as far as the juice and business goes, all right? It was ridiculous. What he's doing right now is ridiculous. He's just, I'll say it, people. He's trying to keep the topic from moving back to his bastard son. That's the word on the street there. All right, that rumor didn't just come from nowhere. There's going to be a little GSP running around soon. All right, and there goes your money, GSP. It's time to put the damn gloves back on and take a couple more shots to the head, man. You're not done yet. Trust me. He made a mistake, you know. But this baby. I hope nothing but good things come to it in its life. This is like I said, man. It's a miracle the way everything works out. So GSP, you're gonna be okay. But this whole I quit because of the steroids thing, that is 100% bullshit in my opinion. It's pretty easy to see through. He's just trying to keep the topic away from his personal problems. The demons, man. The demons in GSP's life. He's got to come to Christ. Word on the street. With a capital W, because it's his word.
Jesus.
How do I even follow that up? How do I follow that up? There's no way I can follow it up. Pass. Alan?
I think Alan is dropped off the call. Trying to add him back now, but yeah.
All right, I got something. I'll say something about it. Okay, I think he makes a good point. I think GSP has a little bastard son running around. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate, man. And believe in the Lord, etc. I really don't care what GSP has to say about testing or the protocols or the standards, because at the end of the day, he's got a fucking HGH gut. Jake, you know this. I don't know if anyone else does, but I really don't give a shit what you put in your body. I'm 100% like of the idea that it doesn't matter, because you can go to any kind of fitness shop and you can pick up some compound there that's pretty much identical to steroids. I don't give a shit. I think it is a level playing field. Maybe some guys have better steroids, but I think everyone's taking supplements, and it's all stuff that is pumping your body up. I don't give a shit, and I especially don't care about a guy that looks like he takes it.
Word up, yeah, George. There are a lot of questions that come with why he's speaking out now. he said he wanted time off. He said it was personal things. Yet in his time off, he's going on MMA radio shows, saying shit like the UFC needs to do this, the UFC needs to do that. You just wonder why he wasn't saying any of this while he was the welterweight champ, while he had that podium to speak of. I don't know if he just was trying to fall in line with his bosses, not upset the people writing his checks. But I just don't know don't know why he's speaking up now.
I think I have an answer for that, bro.
What's that?
I think I do. I think he doesn't have any of the pressures of fighting. And if you look at him the last 2 years of his career, he seemed a little off, right? A little strange. He's talking about getting abducted and raped by aliens and he's losing time. My asshole is wider, shit like that. I think the pressure's got to him. And now that he doesn't have the pressure of being the poster child for the UFC and being the best draw in MMA and being the best at 170. Now, all the things that he's been thinking for the last couple of years, now it's finally coming out.
Yeah, and actually it does look like we have a call. Caller, how are you doing? What's the word?
Tick, tock, tick, tock. You see, I'm looking at this clock right now. It's 1:42 in the morning. I don't know how many hours you have left until May 6th, Ramses, but I'm looking at you right now, and you can't see me, but I can see you. And let me tell you something. When me and you finally get in there and we finally do this thing, I'm going to end you. And there's nothing you can do about it because, you see, I am the best there's ever been in the history of this podcast, in the history of your podcast, in the history of every podcast there has ever been in the history of podcasts. I am the best in the world, and there's nothing you can do that is going to stop me on May 6th. And come May 6th, I'm going to put an end to the word on the street. Kaboom.
You son of a bitch, Ross. Well, what can I say except that, on May 6th there will be a cataclysmic event. Dare I say it? There's gonna... that one's going a little too deep there. I was gonna say that there was gonna be a second Holocaust, but then I was like, all right.
Oh no!
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say that, so I didn't. But let me tell you something, Ross. You were probably there at the Rampage versus King Mo post-fight press conference a couple weeks ago. Remember how they kept going back and forth saying, "Yeah, man, yeah, we're gonna do this, winner take all, winner take all." I'm challenging you. It's going to be a winner take all, except it's going to be a winner take out. That's all I'll say.
God damn. Word on the street.
That might be the most intense moment ever.
On the MMA
it's on like
podcast
Donkey
history.
Kong.
Yeah.
Here in the 82nd episode, man, I guess we have no other options but to keep moving on. Wanderlei Silva, this is another huge topic. He's not signing the dotted line. Apparently the holdup is Wanderlei wants his boy Dida to be there. Dida, we know, is the guy who cheap-shotted Chael Sonnen. He was kicked off tough. The UFC doesn't want to let him at the event. Wanderlei wants him to corner him. Jamie Huey didn't say it directly last night because he's a fucking gentleman, but he put the pieces there. He sort of insinuated that, if Wanderlei Silva didn't want to fight Chael Sonnen, this is a great excuse. What do you think is going on? Do you think we see the fight? Coach said it was probably a 50-50, whether we see it or not last night. That's not very good news. What do you think, Ramses?
What I think is that there's a few things at play here that we're not privy to. All right? There's a lot of stuff happening on the inside. A lot of tides are turning. There's a lot of factors, angles, if you will, just like there are in the octagon itself. I can't reveal much, people, but, your eyes and ears and common sense doesn't deceive you. Wanderlei Silva is a coward. He's refusing to sign the contract. A lot of it's got to do with his boyfriend, Andre Dido, the guy that sucker punched Chael. I'm hearing rumors left and right that they're, in a committed relationship, and Vanderlei won't fight without him in his corner. That's what the whole holdup is about. But what is it really about? There's something deeper going on in Vanderlei's basic, simple Neanderthal psyche. He's afraid of being humiliated and losing. He associates his entire honor with beating Chael. And more importantly than that, he's thinking of it as not letting himself be beaten by Chael. That's how he's viewing this fight. He's so scared of losing. He's cradled up in Andre Dida's arms every night. He's lost his mind there. He's acting like a cartoon character on Tough Brazil, exclusively on Fight Pass. Get yours today. He's acting like a cartoon character, some evil villain. He's like the Biff of the UFC at this point. He's an exaggeration of the bully. It's ridiculous. Chael's gonna put him out. But he's got to sign the contract, and I'm hearing if it doesn't happen in the next 2 days, this fight's gonna be pulled. It's gonna be canceled. All right. And that'd be a damn shame. But there's something going on here with Vanderlei, man. Rumor is he's on a walker half the day, except when he has to make media appearances. This guy's on his way out as well. Chael will probably kill him, but he will be forgiven ultimately by, you guessed it, none other than Jesus H. Word on the street.
Oh my god.
Dude, this might be the worst arrangement ever, going after Ramses. This is terrible.
Having to follow up Ramses every time is like having to go on stage after goddamn Joey Diaz. What the fuck?
This is terrible. Old man Vanderlei. He's pushing Chael around. He's confronting Chael at an expo and having his buddies yank him back. He literally is doing every bitch-made move you could do. I respect the guy as a mixed martial artist, but there is no way in hell that he can beat Chael Sonnen. There's no way. His wrestling defense is porous. He can't take a shot anymore. Chael is at the top of his game. I definitely got Chael in that fight, man. Vanderlei's done.
Vanderlei is done, according to the panel, and we'll keep moving on. We're already 90 minutes in. We got shit to cover still. Diego Sanchez, blaming the loss on bad beef tartare he ate. That's raw beef with a raw quail egg on top. We can talk about how dumb a move that was all night, but I'm going to ask both of you guys, do you have any food poisoning nightmare stories?
Man, I get food poisoning all the time. I have pretty much a nervous stomach condition, if you will.
And a weak stomach lining.
Definitely. Shit. I've had ulcers generated by stress alone in the past, and a little bit of not eating the right thing, partying too hard. I can't even, at this point, I can't even eat buffalo wings without feeling like I'm gonna die and paying the price, man. Heartburn sucks. Acid reflux. I've had it all, people. I've had food poisoning from shrimp, sushi, Chinese food, Mexican food, American hot dogs, the UFC 166 hot dogs at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, October 19th. Jesus. It's a day to remember, a day which will live in infamy, if you know what I'm saying. I've had it all, man. But this beef tartare with the raw quail egg, Diego, what the fuck, man? This doesn't make sense. I'm not taking anything away from Diego, but I refuse to believe that he ordered this this item. It's too upscale. I think he's trying to be something that he's not. This is too high class of an order to put in. I don't believe it for 1 second. But have you guys seen a picture of what he ate of beef tartare with raw quail egg? It's disgusting. Nobody's going to cut weight and then crave this shit. Nobody. I don't care how crazy you are, how many times you got punched in the face or bladed yourself. This is a different level of craziness. This thing, I don't believe it for 1 second, man. And I'll tie it all together at the end of the show, believe it or not. There's a lot of funny business going down in the UFC, and I'm here to expose it as always. Even though I love the sport and the UFC, the promotion, I'll tell you what, I got to break the truth here, man. That's all I'm talking about, man. And this beef tartare thing goes deep, and it's all a part of it, and I'll weave it all together here. What a tangled web we weave, indeed. Word on the street.
God bless him. God bless us. God bless everyone.
Praise his name.
Yeah, the last time I had food poisoning, I was about 7 years old. It's a very vivid memory. I was sitting in a Burger King with my mom, and I got some chicken tenders and a thing of ranch, and I ate it, and after about 15 or 20 minutes of sitting there and finishing it, I started hallucinating, and then I shit my pants, and I vomited.
The LSD in the meat.
I'm not making that up. First I pooped, then I puked, and then I cried. And that was the last time I got food poisoning.
Jesus,
it was
20
bad.
Minutes. That shit set in quick, man. That must
Yeah.
been just pure acid slopped on a burger. That sucks, man. But yeah, there's that story about the LSD laced burgers being sold somewhere. I forget where.
Well, I mean, we're talking, let's see, 1993. This is a long ass time ago.
They had LSD back then.
I know they did. I know. I know, man. Yeah, so that was crazy. I think because of that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that fortified my stomach. And ever since then, I can eat 2 whole jars of pickles, all the vinegar, drink it up, and I'll be fine. Won't even get a stomach ache. I got a stomach of steel. But yeah, man, this
Diego
whole thing is
Sanchez.
nuts, bro. It's nuts. You know what? I've got good intuition with people. I think if you're digging that deep and you're posting a picture of the menu of the place that you ate at and you want to blame your loss on food poisoning, you have dug yourself a hole. Like there's nothing worse than an excuse like that, man. I mean, if you talk about Jake Shields, his dad died. I understand that. He got knocked out cold by Ellenberger, but he didn't look like himself for sure. But if you're talking about, oh yeah, so I had a raw beef and a quail egg on top of a gay sea turtle shell. Like, what are you doing, man? Just don't even do that. Like, just say you got beat. So I think that's it's a real tell, man. It doesn't look good for him.
Yeah, man, you mentioned the eating pickles, and what was that fucking recent story with Misha Tate where she almost like set fire to like a convenience store or something because it was spicy pickle or something? You guys remember that?
Wait, is this the one where Uriah Faber shoved the pickle in Misha Tate's puss? Or
man, that goes deep, dude. I'm gonna add that to my wrap up here when I tie the conspiracy together, man. God bless her. But it was something she raged or something, and she tried to kill somebody or something. I forget what the story was. She laughed it off. It was her
I think
raging
she
about a
and
spicy
Hillary Clinton
pickle.
killed somebody.
It was something about a gas station and a spicy pickle. And it was Misha Tate, man. I'm not making this up.
she farted an entire spicy pickle out of her cooter.
There was something nuts. It was something nuts, man. Anyway, sorry, back to you, Jake. It happened.
I'm gonna stick my dick in a big old bowl of pudding. Dwayne Ludwig, he won Coach of the Year in 2013. Was everyone is ranting and raving about him, whether it's Benavidez, Dillashaw, Mendez, Faber. All of them seem to step up their game. And apparently this week just shit went down. Quote, "It wasn't supposed to be like this, man," Dwayne told MMA Junkie on Wednesday. Dwayne said he met this morning with Faber to reveal his plans to return to Colorado, his home state, but told Faber that he wouldn't miss out on any of the upcoming training camps for the Alpha team, the Alpha male guys. Quote, "I'm not going to bounce on anybody's fight camp." And then he fucking went and told the team and did a press release before I knew. I'm like, what the hell? That's why it was a bit sudden, because I was just giving Uriah the heads up. I didn't really have much planned. I think he kind of jumped the gun. Quote, I'm still going to have an open window for them to come train with me and bring me out for training camps and seminars and stuff. They're still going to be an affiliate of mine with the Bang Muay Thai system. It's just time to open my own business. What do you make of all this crazy shit? Chris, I'll just pass it to you first this time so you don't have to follow Ramsey's go on a fucking tear.
Thank the good Lord. It's reasons like this,
Praise
Jake. You passed it to me. That was the Lord doing work through you. Thank you. And God bless us all.
Praise his name.
Father Christ and the Holy Spirit.
Father daughters, mother sons. Yeah. I don't really know too much about the story, but I think that Dwayne Ludwig is a really good businessman. From what I know about their initial agreement is they said 1 year and then they would renegotiate. So obviously there's something going on with the negotiations to where Team Alpha Male couldn't, for some reason, agree that Dwayne was worth the money he was asking. So whether Dwayne was asking for $1 million or $300,000, it doesn't really matter. They were touting this guy for a year, and then when it came down to money, they all fucking bitched out. So that's all that I know about it, man. I think Dwayne is a fantastic coach. Rogan says he's a good coach. I can tell he's a good coach. I think it comes down to money. I think Alpha Male, the entire team doesn't want to pay what Dwayne is asking, and that's why we have the situation that we're in.
Look, Dwayne Ludwig, we've had the pleasure of talking to him on this very show. He was a nice guy, but I did detect a little bit of friction, even in the short conversation that I had with him. It's completely conceivable that maybe he is a little difficult to work with at some point, but honestly, I think this is going, like I said, I'm weaving it all together here. This is all part of a giant conspiracy. It's a setup, people. Dwayne Ludwig, he's just another victim here. He was getting too close to the truth about Team Alpha Male. You know what I'm saying, people? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but Dwayne Ludwig, man, he was saying himself that Uriah Faber was just blowing this out of proportion here, going behind his back, saying basically that he was quitting, making a big deal out of it when that shit was supposed to be under wraps. Of course, it was exposed earlier today, first reported, leaked by none other than our friend Front Row Brian. This probably forced the hand of Uriah Faber to put out the press release and address the issue outright. No doubt there were probably some hard feelings right now. Uriah Faber is on a plane, I believe. Where is he headed? I don't know, but he's going to be on a plane for the next 12 hours. This is also, it's a little curious here, all right? It all ties in together now. You see Kelvin, Johnny Hendricks nearly missing weight. Mike Dolce's scale is off by 1.5 pounds. A couple of days after the reported disappearance of the Malaysian flight 34700. All right, I don't have all the threads.
What are you even
sewn
talking
together.
about anymore?
What I'm trying to tell you, people, is that the missing plane happens. All of a sudden, Kelvin's almost off weight. Johnny Hendricks, Mike Dolce has a scale problem. When has he ever had a scale problem? That's his entire business and livelihood. Alan's talking about meeting up with Burt Watson before the event and being told directly where the UFC offices are in the hotel. Don't you get it, people? Yeah, that's right. This shit goes deep. And Diego's beef tartare, actually, what is that about? What is he lying about? They tried to poison him too. A lot of people getting too close. Dwayne Ludwig, man, I support you. Fight it if you can. Hopefully you won't turn up missing too. But whatever you know, write it down or something. Make a copy. Put the copy in a safe. That's the best advice I can give you, people. And that's exactly what's happening. That is the word on the street. Praise his name.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so glad I was muted for all that. Oh
What
my
the hell
god, I
just
lost it that entire thing. Jesus Christ. Oh wow. Wow, really quickly before we get to the 10 solid seconds of sports, I did want to mention updates on a lot of the women's fighters. Kat Zingano apparently ready to start training, and she wants to fight mid to late summer. She might get the next shot against Ronda Rousey. Christian Cyborg Justino passes a random Nevada test in advance of a Lion Fight title fight, a kickboxing organization over there. And Holly Holm, we were hearing reports that Dana White was going to meet up with Holm's management over the weekend. The UFC now apparently not interested in Holly Holm. She asked for too much money apparently, and we might see her in the UFC down the road, but apparently not anytime soon. Let's get to the 10 solid seconds of sports, where we break down all things outside the MMA world. Let's go. March Madness is underway, people. Florida, Wichita State, Arizona, and Virginia grab the top spots this weekend as we progress from the first round of the Sweet 16. Go Gators. More movement in the NFL. Free agents moving around. Get into the later stage in the NBA and NHL as we creep close to playoff time. Alright, let's move on. We got a fight scheduled for June 7th in Albuquerque. It's going to be the main event at UFC Fight Night. They're doing so many. I don't even think we know the number. But it's probably going to be UFC Fight Night, Henderson versus Kabalov. And good for Ben, who's I'm not sure currently at lightweight. Yeah, he is ranked number 1, and he's taking a fight against number 15, Hustam Kabalov. I don't know if he just internally knows he's gotten a lot of lucky judges' nods or what, but yeah, what do you think about the fight? Who you got, and does Bendo deserve a higher ranked opponent? Personally, I think Bendo, it's good he accepted it, but there are a lot of guys floating around. I would have liked to see Ben fight somebody a little bit higher up. I mean, he is the number 1 lightweight. And I have Bendo by unanimous decision or submission in this one. Ramses, who you got?
I'll keep this one short, man, because I've never been a Benson Henderson fan. Kabilov, his head spikes, I've been trying to warn people they should definitely be illegal. He's going to kill somebody. But if it has to be anybody, am I going to weep over Benson Henderson? No, I'm not. That's all I have to say.
Case?
Hello. Kopylov getting this fight, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand at all. I think maybe they made the fight because Benson couldn't face off against all the other guys in the top 10 because they're all slated to fight, or he's fought him. I think Kopylov has one thing going for him. Benson actually has some good takedown defense when somebody grabs a single leg. But Josh Thompson proved if you grab him by his waist, you can take him down. And Kopylov is a suplex master. I just don't think that Kopylov has faced anyone in the caliber of Benson Henderson. So I have to agree with Jake on this one. I think Benson takes it. Maybe a little more pressure, a little more effective strikes. I think Kopylov will get a couple throws on him. And I think Kopylov will gas in the later rounds if this is a main event, and we're going to see finally a Benson Henderson finish, 4th or 5th round.
Warren, let's talk about another fight that was slated. Cub Swanson going to take on Jeremy Stephens. That might be the main event. Will probably be the main event for UFC Fight Night San Antonio, June 28th. Cub winning the last 5 in a row. He's gunning for that title shot. Jeremy Stephens has also won his last win against top 10 ranked fighter Darren Elkins. Looking at the featherweight rankings, kind of like we just did for a lightweight, Cub is currently ranked 4. Moving down a little bit to fight the 11th ranked Jeremy Stephens, but don't sleep on Jeremy Stephens. He's got some heavy hands. What do you think about this fight, Chris?
Sorry, man. Stephens versus who?
Jeremy Stephens taking on Cub Swanson. I have Swanson.
Oh, Swanson all day long, baby. Jeremy Stephens has had a easy road, man. Hani Jason, Darren Elkins, and Yautsin Mesa. Fuck yeah, he's going to get his ass kicked. Cub Swanson finished the Juice Monkey Seaver. He also finished Ross Pearson, George Roop, Charles Oliveira, and dominated Dustin Poirier. Cub Swanson is on a roll. He's confident. He's super explosive, and he's got a style that a lot of people can't understand. And Jeremy Stephens is a pretty straightforward fighter, strong Muay Thai, hard-hitting guy that uses wrestling. There's no way that Cub Swanson hasn't seen anything that Jeremy Stephens offers in this fight. Cub Swanson by finish, second or third round.
Ramses.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, this fight's gonna take place at the UFC Fight Night in San Antonio, Texas. That's a stone's throw away. It's about an hour drive, maybe. I don't know. I don't like going to San Antonio. I'm blackballed there as well. Dallas, same story, man. The commission, I'm telling you, I can't show my face at another UFC event. I barely got out of UFC 166 in Houston alive, and that's because I'm juiced in Houston. That's where I'm originally from. These people, man. Cub Swanson versus Jeremy Stephens booking this fight as the main event. I gotta say, man, it's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if that's something that's going to get a lot of people excited. Of course, it's going to be a sold-out event, but are they really headlining material? Maybe Cub Swanson versus somebody like Jeremy Stephens, man. What's he done for us lately? Not a big fan ever since the whole getting arrested thing, screwing over Eve Edwards. Even though Eve Sick is sweet revenge on December 8th. My birthday. I don't know if I'll be at this fight. I'll see what I can do. I'll get it. I'm looking into my options here. How I'm gonna play this out.
Could you go in disguise?
I'm looking at that too, man. I've never gone full beard. I could do that. But hey, I have an aura, man. These people, these commissioners, they smell it out. They got people all over the place watching you. But Cub Swanson, Jeremy Stephens. I'll watch it. I ain't got nobody in this fight. Cub Swanson's probably gonna whoop his ass. But this is a not really consequential fight to me in my mind. Whatever, man. I have nothing else to say.
Word. Let's move on. Moving on to Tony Pettis. He's going to be fighting Gil Melendez after they coach opposite one another on Tough 20. And he is already talking a little bit of shit. Quote, "I'm not going to take him down," Pettis said about Melendez. "I'm probably going to knock him out. Gilbert's going to be a good fight. I'm excited to coach Tough. It should be a fun show. And no, I'm not a wrestler, so I'm looking for the knockout." Honestly, he also had words about Nick Diaz, saying, honestly, the guy I really want to fight right now is Nate Diaz. I think the fans want to see that one, so Nate Diaz is on the radar for sure. For me, Diaz is a good fighter. He could be one of the next guys I fight, but he's the one that talks the most, so I want to settle it. I mainly want to just talk about Pettis. He's been very injury prone, hasn't had a lot of fights recently. A lot of people were making the case on Twitter that Johnny Hendricks should be ranked above him on the pound for pound, ranking system, even though he hasn't had the belt near as long, because Pettis just doesn't seem to fight often enough. Ramses, what do you think about Pettis, and does do all of the injuries and all the inactivity, does that sort of worry you looking forward to his future as a UFC champion?
I don't really believe that Pettis is that injured, to tell you the truth, man. I'm noticing a pattern go down here. Anytime someone gets the title or defends it, guess what? It's miraculously time for that nagging injury that they've had to get operated on. It's time for surgery. It's time to claim an injury, fake this and that. I've noticed it happen, all right? Now Johnny Hendricks is saying he's going to be out until November. How does he know that already? It's only been a few days since the fight. I know a rat when I smell one. These people like to grab the belt and enjoy it for as long as they can before they're forced to fight again. That is not the way of the warrior. That is not what I want in a UFC champion. I hereby declare, a lot of people are frauds here faking their injuries, alright? I won't go as far as to name names, but I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. Pettis, it's time to come back. TJ Grant, Wasn't even hurt to begin with. I got knocked out during jiu-jitsu. That's the best he could come up with. That's the only reason I suspect he may be telling the truth. Because that's borderline retarded what he's claiming happened to him. Who could make that up? Nick Diaz showing up out of nowhere. Now he's demanding a title shot. It's all coming together, people. And there's a lot of shit going down in the UFC, and you can tell it's shit because something stinks. That's the word. That's the word on the street, behind the scenes, the alleys.
Chris, once again, it's difficult to follow that, but looking at Pettis, he seems to have a lot of long stretches where he doesn't fight because of injury. What do you make out of it?
I really don't like it. I don't like the fact that Pettis has only fought, let me see, he fought Clay Guida, Jeremy Stevens, Joe Lozon, Donald Cerrone, and Benson Henderson. That's 5 fights in 3 years. That's insane. That's really, really not a good turnover for a champ. It doesn't bode well. He gets injured all the time. I don't like it. Gil Melendez fighting him after his fight with Diego Sanchez. I think that's also a travesty. There are guys with insane win streaks at lightweight. You got Rafael dos Anjos. You got all kinds of guys out there. Khabib Nurmagomedov. You got Benson coming off of a win. TJ Grant, a guy that was supposed to get a shot. It makes no sense to put Gilbert Melendez in there. Maybe timing-wise, yes, it does, but I think it's a travesty in the division. I know that Gilbert has earned his keep and has been in the top 10 for a long time. That's something to consider, but I really don't respect it, man. I think other guys have earned it way more. They have an active streak against really top guys, and yeah, man, I just really don't support this title fight, especially considering they're going to have a fucking season of The Ultimate Fighter and then fight. So we're looking at what, 6-7 months? That's insane. That's insane. So now we're going to have another shuffling of the deck at lightweight, which is probably the last thing that we need.
And one final news topic before we get to UFC Fight Night 38, Shogun versus Henderson 2, and that is Bellator 112, the featherweight title. An amazing, amazing fight. Pat Curran winning the fight via submission, 5th round, rallying back. We pretty much thought that Strauss could probably win the fight if he could just survive the 5th round. Curran getting the late submission with only 14 seconds to go. What do you think of the fight? Is it the fight of the year so far? And how do you think Curran and Strauss would match up against the current UFC featherweight pack? I think Aldo beats them both handily, but I would love to see guys like Curran and Strauss go up against a Swanson, a Lamas. God, those would be fucking wars. Chris, were you able to catch Curran versus Strauss? What'd you think of it? You haven't seen it yet.
I didn't see it.
Sorry.
I didn't see it, but I actually can weigh in on your question. I think they fit in really well at featherweight in the UFC. At 145, you have a lot of top guys right now. We got Swanson, Mendez, we got Bermudez. We have a lot of guys at 145 that are fresh challengers on huge winning streaks. And I think Pat Curran is an insane talent. And Daniel Strauss proved in the last 2 fights that he's also a really good talent. I didn't think much of him, but after seeing him square off with Pat Curran, he looked great. I think both these guys, it's really a travesty that they're fighting each other in Bellator. That's like being the fastest runner at a fucking a special ed like Olympics. Like it honestly is. It really is. I see these guys as being world-class talent. It sucks that they have to contend in Bellator. I think the UFC would be really well off if they spent a little extra money and kind of sucked it up and got these guys over at 145. It would really open up featherweight, I think, and make people excited.
What's the word?
Yeah, man. Strauss Curran. This isn't just me talking, but you might as well get that drop ready because a lot of people on the internet are hip to Bellator shenanigans at this point, and we're calling it a work. They were saying the ending was suspicious. It's a little too convenient. I saw it myself, though. People, I gotta say, the ridiculousness of the guy's technique at the end of the fight. I think he got choked out for real. It looked like he was trying to kick out of it. It didn't work. This is one of these fights where nobody gives a damn who wins. Having these guys fought at least 4 or 5 times already, it's ridiculous. At this point, who cares? Who cares who wins? That's what happened in this fight. It wasn't a work, but it's good to see that a lot of people are getting...
was a work, people.
It's good to see that a lot of people are getting hip to what Bellator is doing right now. It's blatantly TNA MMA. But yeah, the fight was cool, I guess. But, you know, I'm not gonna... The only reason I'm bringing it back to mind and recalling it is because you brought it up. Otherwise, I never would have thought of this fight again for the rest of my life. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, Bellator gets a lot of flack, and I do give it a lot of flack for treating their fighters below average, but Bellator 112 was a good event, and that main event was fucking fantastic. Let's get straight to UFC Fight Night 38, Shogun versus Henderson 2. You know, it's not really the most stacked card, so I'm just gonna let you know who's on the prelims and let you pick out which fights stand out to you. A light heavyweight fight between Francimar Barroso and Hans Stringer, 2 pretty much no-name guys, and another couple guys we haven't heard much of. Featherweights, Godfredo Castro taking on Noad Lehat. Those 2 fights are going to be on UFC Fight Pass. Yeah, it's
Bart Dick versus Bummer Johnson.
Yeah, what do you think about the UFC making fights with these guys that no one's heard about, Chris?
Well, I think it's actually good. They're trying to expand into foreign markets, and Brazil is actually a really, really huge market for them. It's not super lucrative right now, but they have some really loyal fans, so I think it is really smart to get these local talent guys. I think, actually, Jake, you probably brought this up on the roundtable. It's that you shouldn't sign big names and have them travel out to these foreign markets, like you know, let's say a Matt Mitrione versus Sean Jordan. Have these guys fly all the way out to Asia in the middle of nowhere. You probably shouldn't do that. What you need to do is just build up these cards with no names all across the board and have them marketed towards that area, and try and not get people to watch it on Fight Pass, and then have any really important fights. You should market those for all the markets that you've already established, you know, Britain, Australia, etc. I think you should probably do that. That's my opinion.
Ramses, what do you think about these fights?
You know, no names, good for them. You know, it's nice to see some people getting a paycheck here. There's you guys wanted a fighters union. Well, these are jobbers. You know, I'll never say anything bad against them. They're doing what they got to do. They're like extras in a movie. I like seeing no names enter the UFC and fight, man. Even the show Lost, ABC's Lost, where the people were stuck on the magical island. Even that, the survivors, even that was made up of extras. Just random jobbers there. People that had no name or identity. If it's good enough for ABC, it's good enough for MMA. These fights mean absolutely, to answer your question, nothing to me, though. Nothing.
Yeah, and let me just breeze through and let the people listening know who is fighting. As far as the start times, the Fight Pass card is 2 fights. It's going to start at 4 Eastern on Sunday, not on Saturday. It's on a Sunday, March 23rd. 4 p.m. Eastern for the Fight Pass card. An hour later, 5 p.m. Eastern for the Fox Sports 1 card. And 2 hours later, the main card starts on Fox Sports 1 at 7 Eastern, or on Fox Sports Go if you're not in the U.S., or Globo, I would assume, if you're in Brazil or some crazy shit like that. The Fox Sports 1 prelims, we got Thiago Perpetual, or Perpetual, how the fuck is that pronounced, Chris Ramses?
Perpetuo.
Perpetuo.
Sounds
like a fucking evil villain, Perpetual, taking on Kenny Robertson, a flyweight match between a guy who a lot of people thought used to be the best flyweight in the world, Jussier Formiga. Since, fighting these top guys, it's proved otherwise. He's going to be taking on Scott Jorgensen, moving down from bantamweight recently. Hani Marquez taking on Thiago Santos at middleweight. Diego Brandao versus Will Chope at featherweight. Moving to the main card, Hani Jason and Steven Seiler at featherweight. Michael Prazeres and Merbek Tezumov at lightweight. Fabio Maldonado taking on John Volante at light heavy. Leandro Santos versus Norman Park. Storm and Norman at lightweight.
Hey, can I ask something?
Cesar Mutante Ferreira taking on CB Dalloway at middleweight. You have any thoughts on all these fights? Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Get through it.
It's all good. Leonardo Santos, Norman Park. We all know that guy. Who the fuck is Santos? Who is that?
Leonardo Santos. I think he was on Tough Brazil 2. Had one fight at. I think he beat William Macario. Yeah, he won the Ultimate Fighter 2 Brazil, taking on William Macario. Second round submission win. We haven't seen him fight since. I don't know if he was injured or injured or what, obviously, because that was back in June. But yeah, the Tough Brazil 2 winner taking on the Tough Smashes lightweight winner Norman Park. It's one of the few times we've seen a winner of Tough take on a winner of Tough. But yeah, what do you think of those fights, Chris?
You know what? I'm not really too stoked on most of them. I think let's see, the most important one for me, obviously, here is Scott Jorgensen. I really like the guy. I think that he's underperformed in the UFC, but he's got a solid skill set. I think he went 5-0 in the WEC and fought Dominic Cruz for the WEC 135 title. So he's insanely talented. He's at 125 now. He's a flyweight. He's taken on a guy that's been proven to get knocked out. I think we're going to see Scott Jorgensen shine here, beat Formiga, push Formiga out of the top 10, and then probably take on one other fight and get a title shot. I can definitely see that happening. Will Chope versus Diego Brandao. That's a really strange fight, man. Will Chope is 6'4". He's 6'4", fighting at 145. That's unheard of. That is a giant, skinny, frail man taking on Diego Brandao.
That's kill.
That's really weird. Jason Seiler, that has all the makings to be the fight of the night. I think both of these guys really want to bring it, and they both mean mug. It's going to look good. Maldonado Viante, who cares? Santos Park, who cares? It doesn't matter. Mutanch versus CB Dalloway, that looks pretty good. And obviously the rematch between Shogun and Dan Henderson. I can't wait. I don't think it's going to be even. I think we're going to see a fired up Shogun facing a old, past his prime, TRT-less Dan Henderson, and Shogun will finish him swiftly.
Wait. We aren't getting to that fight yet. We are saving that fight for last. Ramses, what did you think about the fights we covered?
Well, I got to be honest, man. I don't really, I ain't got much to say about this one, man. But you know, I'll pray for all the fighters. I'm sorry, man. I got nothing on this. I'm sorry.
He's got fucking nothing, but I'm sure he'll have something for Shogun versus
that
Dan
shows
Henderson.
you how much I care. Exactly.
Let's get to the stat of the day, people. The first fight between Shogun Rua and Dan Henderson at UFC 139 is a fight a lot of people consider the greatest fight in MMA history. Fight Metric reflects that, as we saw over 300 strikes landed in 25 minutes, and a fight had scored a 47-47 draw. And we got it. Shogun Rua taking on Dan Henderson in the main event, a rematch of what a lot of people, like I said, think is one of the greatest fights in the sport's history. You know, I don't think anyone is expecting it to be as good as the first time through because, you have thousands of fights that have gone on, and their first time through was a very special one. Obviously, they probably don't want to take even more lives or more years out of one another's lives. Chris, you sort of touched on it, but tell us why you think Shogun is going to smash a TRT-less, as you said, Dan Henderson.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Shogun, yeah, he's a really hard guy to pin down in MMA. I mean, he'll come in shape and he'll lose. He'll come in fat and he'll win. It's really weird, but it seems like he's turned a corner. He's coming off of that big win against James Tahuna. He knocked him out, and now he's going up against a guy that's 43 years old and doesn't pull the trigger anymore. Dan Henderson looked terrible against Machida, terrible against Rashad, and even worse against Belfort. And now he's fighting a fired-up Shogun. I definitely see this being a really bad night for Dan Henderson. I think he might look good the first round. It'll be even, and I think Shogun will pick up the pace the second round. I'm going to go with a third round TKO stoppage for Shogun.
Ramses, the final topic of the night, the final word, I'll give it to you. Shogun Rua taking on Dan Henderson. The fight is going to take place Sunday in Natal, Brazil. Who you got in the main event?
There's a pretty damn good chance that one of these men is going to die that night. Be killed in the octagon, make the ultimate sacrifice. It's an insurance scheme by the UFC. But people that are expecting this fight to be as exciting, as epic as the first fight, I'm sorry. You're in for a disappointment. Lightning does not strike twice in the octagon. I'm sorry. Even Griffin Bonner, those rematches were disappointments. Tito versus Forrest Griffin. Bullshit. Weidman versus Silva. Let's admit it, people. It was a disappointing rematch given what happened to poor Anderson Silva. May he rest in peace. He's with Jesus now. Dan Hendo versus Shogun. Not going to be as exciting as the first fight. Not a chance. Nobody better have those illusions or expectations. You're going to be let down. It's a free fight, but you're going to be wanting your money back. Hopefully, the best doctors in the world can care for whoever is the most fucked up after this. But Shogun just had a baby. Dan Henderson, I don't know how many kids this guy's got at this point. But the money's running low, people. It's a damn shame that this fight had to happen. Someone's probably, like I said, gonna lose their life. But hopefully, if they've paid the price, if they've come to Christ and accepted Him into their hearts, their deaths will be the start of something new, is what I'm being told here. And I can't say enough good things about these gentlemen. I just hope that they know that they are forgiven in 2014. Praise His name. Word on the street.
Hallelujah, and that wasn't even the drop. That was Ramses giving it to us live. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like I said at the top of the show, we do it every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 6 p.m. if you're in the UK, soon to be 7 when y'all hit daylight savings time in a couple weeks. We appreciate the shit out of you listening. Of course, you can listen on YouTube or iTunes. The links are available at the top of the MMApodcast.com. Chris, we can find you at C. Lowenstein on Twitter. What the hell's going on? What do you want to tell the people?
I want to tell the people, just remember, guys, this isn't infinite. It's finite. Go out there, do what you want to do. Be the hero in your own action movie. Suck dick, eat pussy. Word on the street.
Word on the street. Eat that asshole out with a tablespoon of blue cheese. Ramses, we can follow you on Twitter at the Aunt Jimmy Show, the Word on the Streets, every Tuesday night. Same time, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, with Coach Jamie Huey. You got to check out last night's episode. What the hell else you want to tell him?
I just want to say that if you do follow me on the Aunt Jimmy Show, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Send your prayers to the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. What I do is I, just throughout the day I tweet out Bible verses and advice based on my understanding and my connection to Christ himself, who makes all things possible. And Jake, thanks for having me on the show to help spread the word on the street. His word.
Word on the street. Don't forget to follow our friends, Coach Jamie Huey, Alan, who was on the call earlier and cut out. He's Westland Eagle AH. Our boy Ross Finkelstein, the best Jew in the business. Follow him at Ross Finkelstein. _the truth. We love the shit out of each and every one of you. Enjoy Shogun versus Henderson, the rematch. And until next week, my friends, we gone.
Cocksucker, sucker, 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 sucker.